Alrighty, just got back from the machine shop with the remanufactured engine. 40 over pistons. It's got all brand new rod bearings and crank bearings in it. The engine block has been fully machined. Now, first thing we're going to do, we're going to put the backing plate on it. We'll turn this. You guys can see what we're doing here. Set it on the engine so we don't gouge anything up. Okay, first thing we're going to do, backing plate. Backing plate only fits on in one direction. That's nice and easy. Two little 12mm bolts. Those go in there nice and easy. Most applications you're going to have to replace the pilot bearing, the crankshaft. We've already gone ahead and done that. So get these bolts in here. These are 12mm. There's just a pair of them. I'll put those in there. Snug those up real good. Okay, backing plate's on. Next thing we're going to do is the flywheel. Got the flywheel resurfaced. This particular flywheel didn't have any discoloration or burning or anything like that to it, but we just had it resurfaced just to clean it up anyways. And we just gently slide that right on the crankshaft. Not being so gentle. I'm going to try to line up the bolt holes inside. There we go. Seated. Lined up the bolt holes. We're going to use some thread locker on the flywheel bolts. And we don't want these things rattling or coming loose. We'll just put a little bit on here. Doesn't really take a lot. That bolt started. A little more on here. It's a really fine liquid. It'll lubricate the threads nice going in. These are 17mm. So there's 17 right there. And we'll just spin those down in. Okay, now I've got all the bolts down in. We're going to grab a click type torque wrench. Torque wrench, 17mm. These are going to be torqued down to 80 foot-pounds of pressure. Lock it. Okay, now I'm trying to tighten these down. This is going to want to turn, so what we're going to do is we're going to tip the engine over on its side. And we're going to grab a big old socket. And we're going to set that socket inside the case. We're going to use the counterweights of the crankshaft to pin this engine still. Big counterweight in the middle, probably work just fine. And all we're doing is just setting the socket in there just to jam it. We're not going to put enough pressure on this to twist the crankshaft or anything like that, so really no concerns. And starting in a star pattern, we're going to just tighten these up a little bit. Socket moved. Alright. Now, we'll turn this so you guys can see what we're doing. Okay. 80 foot-pounds. Again, it's a click type. There's the click. Straight across. There's the click. Over here. There's the click. Straight across. There's the click. Over here. There's the click. And straight across. And there they go. Now just double check them. Okay, using a star pattern, 80 pounds each, I'll set in. Now, we want to make sure there's no oil on this surface because we're going to be bolting the clutch in next. So we'll take a shop cloth, brake cleaner, and just spray it up and wipe it off. Get this all nice and clean. Alright, now the previous clutch was worn all the way to the end of service. If you look at the new clutch plate, there's some ribs in here. Those are basically wear indicators. Previous clutch was worn to the point you couldn't even see those. Yet we didn't have anything burnt, so that was really good. Now when we put this in, one side has the springs, the other side's pretty much flat. You always want to have this side here facing out into the flywheel pressure plate. So we're going to take this and the clutch alignment tool, it's got splines on it. We're going to take that, insert this into the flywheel, pressed into the flywheel clutch plate, and we're going to insert it into the bearing and bottom that out. We're going to leave that clutch tool in there. We're going to be using that to align it inside the pressure plate. Again, make sure that your surfaces are all nice and clean. I don't want any oil on there. It's going to make this thing slip. And that'll be heat. That's not good. Okay, we got 3 alignment dowels and doubled up holes. One of the holes is for the dowel, one of the holes is for a bolt. And we're going to take it, slide it over the alignment tool and onto the pins. We'll try to pound it onto the pins a little bit. It doesn't want to stay, but got our 6 bolts here. And just, wrong pins. There we go. And then we'll put that bolt in there, that way there nothing falls off. Okay, now we're going to take, let's see, where did I put the wrench? Alright. Grab an extension so we can spin this in. These are also 12 millimeter. I'm just going to put those bolts in real quick. Don't need to snug these up yet. We're still gonna need to adjust this, get this perfectly centered. And for the most part, you're gonna have to do this by eye, because this tool is a little on the sloppy side. You don't want these too tight or you won't be able to move it. Okay. Not really a lot of movement in here. Now there's spaces in the sides here where you can actually stick your fingers in. A couple of spaces, make sure that things are pretty well centered. Okay, the fingers on your clutch plate, your tool sits in the middle of that. You want to make sure this tool is perfectly centered in here before you tighten these down. And it looks like we might be right on the money already. This isn't really moving. I think we got the bolt just a little too tight. There we go. Got the movement in it now. Alright, we got that nice and centered. Now we're going to start snugging these up. We want to do all of this in a star pattern also. Turn that a little bit. Do each one a little bit at a time, kind of do them evenly. As you're tightening this down, you'll notice that the fingers are starting to go inward a little bit as the pressure is pushing down on the plate. Okay, we got all these snugged up. Okay, now according to the specs, we're supposed to be tightening these between 11 and 15 foot-pounds of pressure. This torque wrench is probably not reliable to anything under 20, so we're pretty much going to have to gauge this one by feel. And again, it's 11 to 15 foot-pounds of torque. And there we have it. Clutch, brand new clutch installed.